And with that, we are in for episode 92. We are meandering. We are ticking along. So we've got a bird nearby. We're outside. I've just had a 20-minute discussion with someone here as a Brisbaneite, Sam.
Yeah.
And Tram. And I'm ready to go.
It feels like it's jumped very quickly from 36 to... Because it's probably been about the same time period.
From 1 to 30 to 30 to 90.
Yeah. So it's feeling a little bit interesting, a little bit strange there.
Good.
Got something to meander on, or should I start us off?
Hit me up first. I did have something in my mind, but it's gone blank now.
Okay. Well, you were literally just talking about death.
Okay.
And so my first thing here, would we view death differently if it was preceded by a gradual euphoria or like immediate dopamine release? So imagine every single time that someone died or was in that process of dying, it wasn't pain, agony, and usual bad things that we see, but it was actually more like an elation, pure joy, happiness. They're saying like, oh my god, this is the best thing. This is better than heroin.
So that if death was the equivalent of experiencing like the most joy that you could experience,
like the most intense orgasm, the most whatever it is. How do you think as humanity would view death? Would we view it much differently?
No.
Okay.
I don't think.
I totally disagree with that.
Okay. I want to give me your viewpoint. Why do you think we would vary?
Well, that's like one of the things we see it as negative. It's sort of going. It's a very obvious transition, and it's followed by this, or well, preceded by this very negative experience of pain usually. So, I would say like you were talking with that dude just then about what's in the afterlife, which is a very intense conversation to get in after
the very intense
3 minutes. And I think there would probably be more perceptions of heaven, or I don't know, if you talk to anyone nowadays, like the death is generally seen as a bad thing, and I just think it would maybe be more viewed as a good thing. It's more viewed as, okay, this is I don't know, you just associate old age and death as negatives, and it's like, okay, what if it's actually something to look forward to? No one looks forward to dying particularly. What if it's something like, oh man, I know what's coming, like I know it's going to be really great, and I'm going to feel a lot of joy.
But I mean, you're coming from a point, so you're saying that it would make it positive, or just make it a little bit more positive?
I think our psychology would view it very, very differently.
I don't think we would. And I'll give you an example of something right now that you do get a bit of positive even after the negative. And maybe you can correct me if it's not enough of a near to it. But when you run, imagine you're going for a 10K run. You hate doing the 10K run. And it's kind of annoying, and you feel, not frustrated. It saps the energy out of you. There's effort. I don't think there's anybody out there that can say you do a 10K run. Maybe there's some people. But you do a 10K run and you're loving it the whole time. There's some pain, there's some grit that you have to get through. But afterwards, you do the 10K run, you kind of get elated, you're really happy, you feel a bit joyous, you're like, I accomplished it, excellent. Even though you've got that joy there, next time you go do a 10K run, at least for me personally, I don't get this feeling of, okay, well, I know there's going to be some positive at the end of it. That's going to drive me to go and do it again to chase that. It's a little bit more like, oh, I know it's still going to suck. That's totally fine. There's not really like a plus that's an extra there.
And so what if it was a huge negative afterwards though? What if every time you ran, it made you feel really shit? You were violently ill for a day. Would you...
Then so my psyche would say to me, no, I don't want to keep doing this because there's
so it's not good. So it would change. So what I'm getting at, like the psychology of people, we'd view it as a collective very differently. And how we would view it, would our beliefs change? Would heaven and hell still be the same concepts? Would reincarnation and whatnot, those things would probably be the same. Those ideas would stay the same, but I think the way that we view and talk about death would maybe be in a more positive light rather than a negative.
Okay, here's another example. Let's see if we can get a bit closer. Say you're about to get shot. Someone said to you, okay, we're going to kill you this afternoon. You're going to die.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, just before you die, you've got three choices. You can have the best meal you ever had, a okay meal, or maggots.
Yeah.
To you, does it really matter what you choose?
Yeah.
Okay. See, it's interesting because for me, it isn't. For me, it doesn't matter.
What?
But the way I think about that is, it doesn't matter.
People, please write some comments about this and how wrong Juan is. I can't imagine anyone.
But see, it's interesting.
Every person who is on death row gets a chance at a last meal. I'd say like 99% of them choose a very nice fancy meal. They don't choose the...
Oh, I agree. Okay, yeah, I agree. But I'm saying it doesn't matter. Like, does it actually change your perception of death that's about to hit?
I wouldn't particularly say so if it's, you know...
Like, so when you're saying, what would I prefer? I prefer a really nice meal. What, does it matter? To me, I'd say, well, it doesn't matter. You're about to die.
Well, he didn't ask that for everything then. It's just a...
Well, and what I'm trying to get is, so if you are on death's door, and just imagine you've known your whole life, like let's say we've gone through all of life knowing that just before you die, let's say 2 minutes before you die, you're going to experience the best joy of your life. It's going to be insane. So say you're 80 years old now, you've lived an entire life, you've had a really rich experience. You then go, I'm about to experience 2 minutes of the best things, and then I die. Do you think personally you would get to that point and think, yes, I'm looking forward to this?
Well, you're looking at it.
To end.
You're looking at it in such a short-term view. You're not looking at it through your whole life up to that point. Yes, maybe that exact moment just before the elation kicks in, it might not mean that much to me if in 2 minutes time I'm going to be passed away.
Okay, so you're taking, say you're 30 years old, you might die at 80. You know it's going to be a pleasant experience to die.
Yeah.
Let's say it's a pleasant experience to die. Does that change your mentality?
Yeah, for sure. And look at it this way. So with the last meal of the condemned, okay, say you're stuck in prison though, and you've received the sentence, you're going to die, and then the year before that they actually put you through it, you have that, you know, you've got your last meal and you can choose whatever you want in the world.
Yep.
How much meaning does that have to you in your dull prison life where nothing ever happens, you're eating the same shit day in, day out? How much meaning does that then have to you?
Well, to me, I'd say zero. Nothing.
Okay, I'd say a lot.
Yeah. But see, and it is interesting because I'm coming at this from a rational view. And you're coming at it from a very emotional, empathetic, human view, which I think is correct. So I think generally, yes, you would care. Like, with what you stated at the beginning, I think it would change all the mentality. I don't think personally it would change mine and maybe some other people's way of viewing it.
Yeah,
like
okay.
If you told me right now, by the way, you're going to die, when you die, it's going to be like really pleasant, it's going to be the great experience, I'd be like, who cares?
Okay. Right before you die, you have your family's there as well, and all of them, you can choose whether they will die as well or not. You just have to say yes or no. What do you choose?
Well, it'd be no.
Yeah, exactly. But why does it matter? You're gonna die. That's sort of like what I would attack with your rational point is that, okay, just because it's coming to that end point doesn't mean that all the values and all the things you hold in life up to that point just go away.
Well, see, no, so I'd say that's I wouldn't agree with that, because that decision of, well, say that, like, your loved ones and your family, that decision's not something that you're doing for yourself. That's something you're doing for someone else. And while it doesn't matter to your experience, it matters to the collective unit that is a family or whoever else. So I think in that point, it still matters. Intrinsically, for me, it doesn't matter. Like, whether I'm eating crap just before I die or, you know, it's a horrible experience. Okay. That doesn't persuade me to really experience about it. Would it be better? Yes. I'm not saying it would be. I'm not that. I think if someone says, no, I want it to be painful and eat maggots, then no, I think you're psychotic. There's something wrong there. You want to be in a happy place, but does it really have like meaning to it? No, or at least very, very low, to the point that I wouldn't consider it some life-changing thing. But I can see where you're coming from, so I'll back your point here. Where if you're an emotional, empathetic, person who might be worried about like the pain of death or a couple of other things, or how other people, some people are really afraid that when you die, your family will think that, you're going through all this pain and whatever. So maybe that doesn't happen. And then all of a sudden you're not afraid anymore. You're not worried. And it does change your outlook on life, because you think, okay, well, if I die, it'll be a really good experience. So who cares? Like, that doesn't go into like the afterlife though. I think it's a separate thing, but it would change some other people's mindsets. I'd just say personally, not mine.
Yeah, okay.
Or to a very low degree. There you
go. Juan wants to eat maggots. That's all I got out.
Yeah. Eat maggots. So leave in the comments if you prefer maggots, or if you prefer a lobster roll or something of equal effect.
Yeah. So you don't think if you're in prison, that last meal would mean nothing to you? I think it would take
from a preference point of view.
Just in terms
I choose it.
Just in terms of value. I mean, it's one of the only things you can really control. So like you have zero control basically in your prison life, apart from of physical things. You can control your mind to some extent.
Yep.
Maybe a little bit your body as far as what you actually do, push-ups or things, but control of material things you have almost no control. And then I would be thinking, like, if I had a year left and I just knew I had this one thing coming up, I would put some serious thought into it, and I would
okay, maybe to extract that a little bit, let's change it a little bit. Let's say you've got 1 year of life left. How would you eat for that last year?
I would eat in a way where, I probably wouldn't care about long-term health benefits. So I probably would eat more sweets and cakes and things of that sort, because I enjoy them, but not to the extent where the next day it's messing me up. So I wouldn't be eating, pure mouth pleasure. I guess, I'm
cakes every day, like a whole cake every day.
Yeah. There would still be enough time for me to be like, okay, I need to consider the after effects. Like, I don't want to feel bloated the next day.
Yeah, like an immediate feeling. Okay.
But I also wouldn't be worried if, say it was like trans fats or something, and it made this thing absolutely delicious. Like, I could have a delicious cheesecake.
Do it,
yeah, that wouldn't bother me so much. Okay. So
I'm just trying to understand where you come from, specifically because it's food, right? For me, I'd say I wouldn't change anything. I'd just eat exactly the same I've been eating my entire life. I wouldn't even change a single thing. But if people offer now, go some food, I'll just go get some food.
Yeah, but you're weird, man.
That's what I mean. So be prevalent that my point's coming from a very different view, I guess, normal human beings.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe change that last thing from food to the week before you get executed.
Yep.
You can choose whatever book you want, and say you haven't been able to have books before that. Would that decision, would that take a different role for you?
Yeah. Then it would be. Then there'd be some thoughts in my mind where, I really want to read maybe something that I've read before that I really enjoyed, I had pleasure in, and I'd like to stimulate my brain to read this before.
Yeah.
So then it would matter whether I choose to do it or not. I think it depends on the thing that you choose.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. That's an interesting question. I like that. Good. Got to get close. One thing we were talking about a little bit earlier, and I wanted just to raise it up now. Yep. Sporting equipment, or using sporting equipment for fitness. So you currently use a belt and weights.
Well, currently nothing.
Okay.
No.
So, but you're going to be using it in the near term.
Yeah.
I've talked to some people. Well, we know a friend, Stephen, who has multiple gym memberships and a full home gym.
Yeah.
And he's got quite a lot of things. But it still doesn't strive him to actively go and do more training. Maybe he's doing even less training, or the same amount of training that he's been doing. Do you think if you had more equipment, like if someone gave you $1,000 worth of equipment right now, do you think it would change at all your mentality of training?
No.
Or any training equipment you could have, would it change it?
I'd maybe experiment more with a couple of different things. So I would I want to do strict muscle ups this year. So I'd maybe get a couple of bands that would help me do that. And so I'd maybe experiment more with those. But the goals that I want for this year, as far as like explosive goals
to not
fitness
require
stuff. No. I'd maybe incorporate a couple of things into, like, so I want to get better at overhead press, but I'm only going to go to the gyms on maybe Fridays and Saturdays with you.
Yep.
I would maybe add in just some home overhead press. But yeah, even then, like, it's not necessary.
Yeah, okay, because I come from that question on me in the past. I think I would have liked to be at a more well-equipped gym, or having lots of little different things to be able to do all these variations. And you can get so many different machines and gyms that I don't think even you've seen before that you'd be like, man, what the hell is this? How do I use it?
Hell yeah.
But the more and more I think about it, I don't think it really has like a massive effect on the way that I would train. And I think most people can get to that place as well. So how you're saying it, I think a lot of people get caught up in, oh, I'm not training at the right place, or this place doesn't have this, or it doesn't have that. I remember thinking about this about jets well back in the day. Now, they would have one Smith machine, one rack, I think, that you have to use for bench as well, and a couple of machines. Now, that's pretty bare bones. And back then, I thought, oh, no, I wouldn't want to use this at all. But now, I'm starting to go on the view of, as long as I've got, the really basic things like a barbell or a few other things, and even my training's now very, very specific to that, you can kind of do all the things I want. But I don't know whether that's coming from because I've already used all those machines to get the benefits from them, or use them and going, okay, well, I don't need to use them anymore. But I just think you can just do so much more with so much little. You can get so much value. Like, the value really comes from some of the very basic things, both like human movement or gym equipment, that people just put all these extra barriers on themselves and thinking, oh, well, I can't do that because I don't have this. And it's like, it's so untrue to the point that it's like, no, you're just lying to yourself at that point. You're just trying to tell yourself whatever you want to say to not do things the way you want to do them.
Yeah, I would argue it's, if it's that important, you should be making the changes to either get that stuff or move to somewhere where you can get that stuff. You've talked a couple of times about how The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, would go to China and he'd just had this whole gym that he brought with himself because he couldn't find exactly what he wanted, and it was too hard with the fame and people crowding around him. Yeah, I'd say a similar thing. And then, yeah, you're right. Fundamentals. Getting to the fundamentals of everything. You'd basically only need a deadlift, squat, bench press, and a couple of other random exercises.
Well, yeah, I was going to say fitness specific. Like, I've now gone from a point where if I look back at my training cycle, maybe from 2 years ago now, I'd have a lot of really specific, unique movements, and they were more down orientated in the bodybuilding space because if you want to get really specific deltoid shapes or whatever else, then okay, you have to go do some specific things. But broadly, if you just want to get stronger or you want to just stay healthy and mobile, there's such basic just movements that you can do that you can do at any point easy. A couple of barbells, maybe some skipping rope, a bar, and you're set. You can go and do pretty much anything you want to go and do. And it's taken me probably 12 years of training, I think, at this point. Probably 12 years of training, if you don't include swimming, to get to the point now that I'm really thinking, okay, this is the way I should continue to train the rest of my life in this much more functional way. And I always had this view that I would never get to that point.
Okay.
I had this view, I think, 4 years ago when I was gymming, that I thought, no, there is no way I will ever let go of this because I'm really enjoying it. I like getting the shape.
You're talking like a specific machine or something?
No, not machine, but the whole training routine of mine was, I'd do chest and triceps and I'd be able to do all these movements and variations. And in my mind, I thought, okay, well, it's keeping me fit. It's making me bigger. It's keeping me strong. I'm not getting too much injuries because it's the lowest percentage of injuries you can get. But now I look at it where I'm doing running and swimming and a couple of other lifts. And now I'm keeping gym still in there, but it's just core lifts. I haven't done a leg press in months. I haven't done a leg extension in months. All these sort of things. But I've increased my strength. And in terms of shape, I've kept maybe 80% of the shape that I already had or want. But I'm able to go and do all these other things. And now I look at it like, wow, why was I not been doing functional things like this before? And probably my body's going to be happy for it in all the other realms of it across the board.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had a view of that, like where you were training like that.
I had that in, and I was just going to mention, so I'm trying to collate all my previous gym logs into Excel sheets, and I'm dreading years 3 to 4-ish, 2 to 4-ish maybe, where I had the same thing. I'd go to the gym and it's like, man, to improve, I need to do all of these machines, like all the machines. I need to use them. And all the movements, I need to do all the things. And so that's just going to be a nightmare because I'm going to have like this Excel sheet that's just growing and growing and getting more complex and whatnot. And so, I had that same thing. And I think, is it boredom that you got rid of it, or more of an understanding that the fundamentals are just more important, that you only have a certain amount of time per day, so you should focus on the things that are going to really work the most?
I think it was a combination of time and specific events, like me running, or me, like recently, well, not recently, but just 8 months ago, I did a couple of F45 classes instead of doing my normal gym classes. And I went into it thinking, it's going to be easy, it'll be fine. And in fact, the very first session of this F45 class, I decided, well, I'll just do it with a 20 kilo weight vest because it's going to be so easy. And I was gutted. I was absolutely gutted with like how wrecked I was.
Yeah.
And then I did it without the 20 kilo, still wrecked. And I thought, man, okay, there's obviously some variations of what I think I'm fit and healthy that I'm not accomplishing.
Yeah, that happened to me when I went to just up here on the cliffs, on not the stairs, but the group class I went to.
Oh yes, yep.
And same thing. First one was pretty hard, and then I was like, oh yeah, I'll do it with a 20 kilo weight vest. Yep. And it was I had to chuck it off halfway through. It just became unbearable.
Well, and it's, I think also the time thing that, now, especially now, I'm very busy with a lot of other things. I remember going on 3-hour leg workouts and loving it. Like I really enjoyed it. I did all these movements, and sure, there was time for that. There is no time for that now. I don't think I could find 3 hours to do a leg workout now. I would have to sacrifice a lot of things to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So that's not happening anytime soon.
Yeah, same here.
There was that variation.
Did some very long ones myself, and wouldn't stay in the gym, and it just, the time wouldn't matter. Like it's like I want to do all these things, and I still feel that I'm not doing it enough. Yeah.
So there's a combination of that where you have a couple of things happen in the time thing that help me understand, okay, well, I can only spend so much time doing this. Where's my bank? Like, where's the biggest thing I can be doing to give me the most buck for my effort? Just trying to see, again, what's 20% of things I can get 80% of value. And overall in fitness and health, I thought, okay, well, swimming's always done that in the past and looked back into it, running as well in different formats. Obviously, I still want to be strong and be able to be mobile, so including stretching at the end of my workouts and particular movements at the beginning to able to warm me up and all these sort of things, which I didn't have before. Which now I'm starting to get. I think now I'm starting to see it and be like, okay, now it's a bit more refined to where I want it to go. But who knows? 5 years down the track, I'll go, okay, no, what I thought was this actually is even more now, or maybe I've gone too far one path.
Yeah. While we're on the topic of fitness, I think it's we're coming into October, and this is, well, for me at least, that's where I start my new yearly goals. And it's also roughly when we started the fitness challenge last year. October 14, I believe, was the first day of it. I want to change that to the first day of October for this year, just to make it easier, so there'll be a little overlap there.
Good.
And I think it'd be just good to talk about mine and what our fitness goals are for this next year. So,
right now?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay, let's do it.
So do you want to start? Or
well, I'll have to bring mine up to really remember them. You obviously have them like very cemented in your mind.
Yeah, I
only updated them recently, so that's probably the reason why mine's not
Okay, so
you go first.
As a general learning from this past year from doing the fitness challenge, and I'm so glad, I sort of created it, which was, if you haven't seen, it's basically 10 different movements, or 11 if you consider the cardio as well.
Yep.
And sort of split into 3 levels of hardness, I guess, and then we just added a bit of math to it to make it round up to 100. So it's out of 100, how many points you get through the year. I think this year at the moment, I'm sitting on 58 and you're on 52, something like that.
Something like that.
And what I learned was I had a bit too many different things going on. I think I was messing up my body a bit last year because I had
Too many competing priorities.
very long exercises such as the L-sits and the handstands and the running, which would sort of go from that 30 seconds to 3 minute range, 3 to 4 minute range. And then I would have some explosive stuff like muscle ups in a sort of mid range, 2 to 6 reps. And high rep pull-ups with weights as well. So it was like I was doing all this.
There's a lot of things.
A lot of different things going on. So this year I was like, no, I want to
focus a bit.
Focus on one thing, I guess the movement in general. So explosive is for me the goal this year. I want to get explosive.
Explosive is a theme.
I've never been particularly explosive. So what's that actually looking like? It's looking like low reps, so roughly around 3, and it'll be of different categories. So handstand push-ups, for example, which I didn't do this last year. Same thing. I want to get sort of 1, 2, or 3 reps. Strict muscle up, same 1, 2, 3. And then some different movements, some like weighted dips, but same thing, like 3 reps, but maybe increasing the weights.
So low reps, focusing on explosive. Nice.
Not confusing my body.
Good. Mine has been more focused on the core lifts. So I've taken a broad view, at least this year, of going, okay, what didn't work before? I think it was a similar thing. I had a couple of core things, but a couple of lifts where I was like, okay, I wasn't even undertaking them at all. I got injured and then COVID happened, so there was a lot of stuff that I couldn't just do at all based on lifting at the gym. So now it's things that even if COVID happened, I would just have to get myself a barbell to go on and do it, essentially. So it's pretty cool. And it's based on all the core lifts, so like the overhead press and your squats and that sort of thing. And then things to do with running, swimming. So all the functional sort of movements that I didn't have in the past, that we started kind of doing a little bit last year, but is now more in tune. So we've got a couple of running ones, I know at the bottoms. I've copied essentially yours, but changed the 5K one to a 2.4K one. I've got one specifically for 1 mile runs. And then I've got some Olympic lifts, so like snatches and I think snatch might be the only one in there. So I think now it's a little bit, and making it a little bit more, I'm going to say it, achievable than it was last year, because there was some stuff there that
you had some
we could have trained the whole year for and still not gone and just dedicated to it. So now it's a little bit more, I've gone back and obviously reflected at what's the general, what's top 10%, what's top 5% of the population in my sort of area, not just like general population, because it's quite easy to do that, but very people who are athletic, and found some sort of numbers and ideas and based on body weight ratios and the like. So I've gone, okay, there's a bit more maths and science behind some of these numbers and putting them up. Good.
So we both have a marathon, a half marathon, and 10K on our goal
times
sheet
in there. So I could actually be able to accomplish a 10K run to then do a half marathon, then to do a marathon.
So I've only ever done 10K. That's the longest I've ever run, so it'll be
What's the longest you've ever walked, though?
Walked? It'd be pretty far. When I was traveling, there was a day or two where I'd just walk
non-stop,
for 5-6 hours and just keep going. So that was a long one. Why are we doing the running as well is, I think, important to talk about, because it's I've noticed the same. My cardio is just terrible. Going up there and doing that burnt me out, and it made me think, I want to get better at this.
It's more. See, I wouldn't say it's cardio. I think it's just more for me. It's cardiovascular health. Like there's just aspects to.
That's essentially what I'm meaning.
Okay.
Just like I don't really care that much about the actual running. It's more about being able to do something for a long time and not just.
I prefer running as well than like riding a bicycle too. And I want to pair obviously running with swimming, but with bicycle, the only thing that holds me back is you have to buy something. You have to have equipment to go and do it. Where running is, you don't even have to have shoes. Just like go out and run. That's it. So.
Yeah, exactly. The other one I wanted to touch on was stretching. So you've got a bit of a routine. What are your goals, I guess, for your stretching for this year?
Well, one of the yearly goals is to like establish, finalize it. This is the thing that doesn't change. Not that rigid. Just to have the ability to know what's my stretching protocol at any point. And I'm probably already up to the point that I'm quite happy with it. Now it's probably understanding how I do it on off days where I'm not training. Well, I'm basically training every single day, but when I'm doing it on those sort of off days, But it's been good. It's been a focus for me of primarily, I think some of my stretching is more around my core because I've always had issues with core and like lower back problems. So it's definitely central to that. And then specifically to what I'm training either that day or the next day to be much more unique movements. So very, very small sort of movements, but it'll be, if I've trained chest and shoulder, there'll be some shoulder rotations at the end and chest stretching to just make sure it's mobile and not too bad. But there'll also be what I've got technique training times as well. So some of my workouts, like say today, for instance, at gym, I will be doing deadlift technique. So it's not, you wouldn't think about it as stretching, but I think about it as mobility in the correct form, which to me falls under that little group of stretching because I'm not going full out. It's probably 10-20% of my weight, of my normal like weight that I would use to train, but it is enough to like get the right firing movements going, get the right mobility. I'm getting into these lower positions and bigger positions that I wouldn't normally be getting on a heavy weight, and just make sure everything's firing right.
Yeah, nice.
Is your stretching going to be changing?
Yes. So for those unaware, probably this time last year, I was doing about 3 hours stretching per day.
Dang.
Yeah, I was going hard.
A long time.
And it's gradually, just especially with the mere mortal stuff, I've had to reduce that and voluntarily reducing it as well. 3 hours is a long time. So with that, I was doing a lot of mobility as well as static stretching. So dynamic and static, really trying to get flexible, especially in the hips and hamstrings, which I've always struggled a bit with. So I got to full splits on both sides of my legs. It's sort of regressed a little bit, but I'm doing like just enough maintenance that I'm keeping that
good
at that same level. I think for some of the exercises I want to do as well for this year, I need to achieve the side splits and a full pancake of getting my legs out in front of me and chest and stomach on the ground, essentially.
Good.
The other one you mentioned, technique, is I think I'm going to start doing a weekly or maybe fortnightly video session of a particular session and just it's annoying setting up the camera, turning it on every time, doing the exercise. It sort of takes the flow out of the routine, out of the workout. But I feel like I need to really dial in some of the form, especially muscle ups and handstands. There's so many like little intricacies that I need to get, like especially with just a shoulder movement.
One of the good takeaways, whatever movement you're doing, like gym lifting, if you're doing handstands, if you're swimming, if you're running, checking your form. Not at the beginning. At the beginning, it's a little bit like make sure it's okay.
Yeah.
But you don't have to get so deep that you're looking at videos and whatnot. But once you get to a point where you're trying to eke out little improvements, that's when you start bringing that out, because spending an incredible amount of effort and strain to go 1% or go 1% better just to improve your technique. It's actually more beneficial to go down that path.
Yeah. So, 100%.
Good.
I think that's it for today, unless you have anything else.
I hope that everyone has been able to hear us. It's been very windy here in Brisbane, down at the Kangaroo Point. So if you can't hear this and you couldn't understand a single word, you have to do...
Blame the weather.
No, what you have to do is actually go to YouTube, check the video, and lip read the entire thing.
Yes, or come here on Saturdays and sit right in front of us and just watch us the whole time.
That's true. That's the other one as well. So this has been our meandering session. If you want to catch us in all our other glory, YouTube, all the podcast platforms, Instagram's a primary one as well. DM us, Instagram us, message us, just drop in, say hello. And like as you said, if on Saturdays you're free and you're in Kangaroo Point in Brisbane, Australia, if you drop down and you come say g'day, I will shake your hand and go past COVID restrictions.
Nice.
That is a treat.
And we'll probably, you can jump in on the podcast as well.
Yeah.
Like we'd break it. There's a meandering session, so
that'd be good fun.
If you want to join in, or if you just want to chat before or after as well, that'd be really fun.
Do that as well.
Connect with a fan or two. I would enjoy that.
Or at least a human being, another mere mortal. One out.
Kyrin out.